beginning with the idea of shedding skin.
So the main theme that's at the core of Year of the Snake is not so much a cultural reference to the astrological phenomenon Year of the Snake that most of us are familiar with, but using Year of the Snake as a kind of metaphor to explain cycles of self-transformation. So a year is just a form that a cycle can take. The snake would be representative of an entity that goes through a transformation of shedding old skin, come out in a new, not necessarily a new form, but with a new exterior, a new understanding of its relationship to the environment. And we're all going through this as people. We're all going through these kinds of transformations. And what seemed inspiring to us in our personal lives, or rather just in terms of inspiring each other, sort of serendipitously, to get through our own periods of transformation, it seemed to translate to what we wanted to say outwardly with our work. And so I think if you say anything about what is Year of the Snake about, or what does it mean, it's just an effort. It's an effort to engage a practice of putting yourself, your vulnerable places out there in front, to meet whoever is in front of you. And that at any time in your life, you may end up in an engagement with a person in which you have the opportunity, and I use the word opportunity consciously, you have an opportunity to make a connection with them about some kind of deeper emotional state or reality, understanding that they themselves are probably working through some kind of transition. It can be quite intimidating to experience a period of self-transformation, meaning you have to engage the forces that are around you in your environment and participate in the transformation, meaning you have to get rid of some things. You have to shed skin in a certain sense. And so this piece is a creative, artistic rendering of those ideas, of our own collective and personal experiences with this idea of self-transformation, and hopefully reaching other people in a way that makes it easier for them to do the same, because society is just the sum of our relationships, and whatever we do is what society is. Likewise, whatever we don't do is what society is. So it's important to evaluate that, and in the meantime make efforts to share an honest and authentic representation as best we can, through whatever constructive means we can, of our own personal experience, in the spirit of helping others do the same.
Why is it important to emphasize this perspective of shedding skin?
It's important to emphasize the knowledge or the consciousness that we're all to some degree experiencing a process of self-transformation, whether it's through what we do or what we don't do. We're participating in our own evolution, so to speak. And if we can wake up to that, or stay awake to that, or help each other wake up to that, which is also a process and takes effort, then we're that much better off as a society, as individuals. So this piece, again, is just an effort to engage a practice of putting a creative work out that represents and shares this knowledge that self-transformation is a very difficult thing to encounter, and we all need as much help as we can, and each other, we're the best source of that help for each other. And that's what that's where the intention lies behind the effort of this work.
Describe your work and its relationship to the other artists.
So typically, my work as a composer, what I feel is my strongest work as a composer, aims toward a sort of a feeling of timelessness. Sometimes that means that musical material, doesn't have a lot of variation in it, so that when it does vary, when there is a change in a single note in a scale, you recognize it as a significant landmark. And as a composer, as a musician, I'm interested in that. I'm interested in that no matter how broad you get with the music, you still need landmarks, you still need structural points, and making those landmarks and those structural points a lot more significant and meaningful, in my experience, through the efforts towards subtraction, toward taking things away. And so I generally try to think in no more than 1 to 3 voices at a time. And it seems like that style of writing, or that way of approaching composition that I feel that I'm in now, the phase that I'm in now, happens to line up perfectly with the phase of choreography that Pei-Ling is in, the phase of writing that Karl is in. Not because they're all perceivable in the same kinds of ways, or that they all have a perceivable sameness in terms of density or structure or length or any of those sort of structural elements. I think intention-wise, I think the intention is the thing that's the same, or at least the closest. And I think that's where we intersect, particularly for this piece, is that our intention behind our individual personal work, they all intersect. The form that intention takes is different. Karl's writing is very dense. You have to spend a lot of time getting into it to get anything out of it. Likewise, a longer piece of mine can be very meditative and not a lot of variation, but you have to spend the entire amount of time with it to understand where the variation lies, because it's not blatant. I don't feel it's that immediate of a perception. And Pei-Ling's choreography, to me, just has an authentic and honest depth to it that is exposing and alarming to me in the way that it is. The only words I can think of to use are sort of cliches, but they fit. It's like raw and intimate and immediate. So I would say that the space that I feel I'm leaving in the compositions, in the music, leaves room for Karl's writing to pass through, or rather, I would think of Karl's writing being the most dense element, and the music is spacious enough that it passes through the writing as if the writing were a filter that existed in space, and the music was floating through it, and bits and pieces of the music get stuck on the words and caught, and the rest of it passes through. Pei-Ling's choreography, to me, the music that I write is a bit like just a structure, a framework, just a skeleton, and to me she's hanging she's hanging the flesh on the bones, so to speak. She's putting body to the skeleton, or muscle movement to the skeleton. She's injecting it with a sort of physicality that isn't represented just through recorded sound.
So you're producing a book and recorded music as individual pieces of work in themselves. Why are you doing that?
Right, so in addition to producing a work that is perceivable as a dance performance, we're also producing a record of the music in a CD form or digital form, and we want to do that because, as I said earlier, each of our individual threads or intentions in doing this work, in writing and choreography and composing, all have their own destination, their own direction, their own intention in them. They're free moving experiences in their own right. And the intersection of our interests and our work is going to be presented most authentically, or most comprehensively in the dance performance, as there will be obviously music to the choreography, and Karl's writing is embedded in the music. But the music exists as a standalone piece of work that comes out of the inspiration of working with Karl's writing and working with Pei Ling, talking about movement and how she perceives the phenomenon of dancing and putting movement to sound or to music. So there's a record of the music that people can take away on its own, as its own body of work. There's also books accompanying pieces of literary work that Karl is assembling that expand on pieces of writing that he had already done, that Pei Ling and I had taken and used as a springboard to start creating this piece. Karl then took those pieces that we had extracted, and he began a new generation of writing and variation being developed directly in parallel with the choreography and music for this piece. So that collection of writing, that book, will be again another standalone work that people can take with them, that's connected to the piece, that has the same intention as the piece, that is within the mythology of the piece, carries the same kinds of threads and the same kinds of weight, is pointing in the same directions, but you can perceive that aspect of the piece in its own right, and allowing, if you see the performance, allowing the choreography and the music to be sort of like shadows or memories as you're reading the text. Likewise with the music, as you're listening to the music, you'll hear Karl's writing embedded in the music, and you may recall some of the movement. So we want all three elements, writing, music, choreography, to be standalone works in their own right, as well as coming together comprehensively to engage people on this personal and intimate, open, honest level.
How did the original inspiration to this work begin?
Pei Ling and I met at Mills College, and we performed in a few times together. Some stuff that she had put together, and we'd always talked about creating a piece together from scratch, and so that was sort of in the background. And then Karl and I were speaking. Karl and I had been collaborating beginning to really get into some deep collaboration with a band that I had. And when that dissolved, Karl and I found that we wanted to continue striving toward this collaborative sense of the themes and the issues I was trying to address with music, he was also addressing through writing. And in a way, our combined efforts somehow supported in a very sort of obviously satisfying way, supported each other, and it became a stronger entity. And as we were talking, we were sort of musing on that 2013 is the year of the snake, and what does that mean, and self-transformation. And it kept going, and at the time I was looking for some significant music project to put my energy into. And just the idea of working with Pei Ling had been in my mind. And sort of out of that conversation, it just became apparent that this would be a good fit, and now would be the right time to do it. And everything just kind of made sense. So I introduced Karl and Pei Ling, and from the outset, we started talking about what this means. Self-transformation, what are you going through? What are the kinds of things you wish you could say to people in public that had meaning, that had weight, and connected to their personal lives? Even if you're not sharing the same forms, you don't have the same paths, or whatever it is, you're still experiencing this struggle, this self-transformation, this evolution in a personal way. So all of that stuff fit together really nicely, and the more we talked, the more of a tangible piece of work it became. And so we kept going, and then here we are. I mean, I can't think of anything else I need to say. It's probably good, right?